Episode of Heresy is over, and with it, a darker chapter into Destiny 2's story. The Hive are now more dangerous than ever, while a new unknown threat looms in the background. This season wasn't just about facing the Hive, it's about twisting their truth and changed everything we know about the Hive sisters, the Taken, and more. Heresy is by far the best episode Bungie has put out all year, which shouldn't be a surprise. Bungie always cooks hard when it comes to Hive stories. And I'll be honest, with Echoes and Revenant, the bar really wasn't that high to beat. I can't even think of any bad Hive stories outside maybe Shadowkeep, which is kind of the opposite of Fallen. I can't think of any real good Fallen stories. Maybe you could say Splicer, but at least for me, the Fallen part wasn't as interesting as the Vex and Future War Cult stuff. And you could say Rise of Iron, but that's another where Xivu and the Iron Lords were the driving force of the story, not the Fallen. Take Fallen out and give any race Xivu and it's the same story. Fallen have a big problem with being a set piece, not the main factor of the story that drives it. I'm not saying that you shouldn't enjoy Fallen stories. You're more than welcome to enjoy whatever you want to do. I personally don't enjoy most Fallen stories, and it seems a lot of the stories that aren't very good do revolve around them. Plunder and Revenant as examples, and no story that is Fallen driven really stands out as being among the best stories. This season was a banger, and I'd say best written seasonal story since Season of the Witch, maybe even Season of the Seraph. Seraph is the season I hold to the highest standard, and I believe that should be the standard for all of Bungie's writing. Do you all remember how hyped we were during Season of the Seraph going into Lightfall? Man, we were so disappointed. There has been some discourse online about the ending of this season, and I'd like to talk about why this season was so good and what you may have missed. Yes, I do understand a good bit of voice lines were missing from this season, making it harder to follow at times and easier to miss. It's unfortunate, but not Bungie's fault. I hope the voice actors are able to get what they are protesting for, and we are able to go back to having high quality in-game character lines. I am going to be honest, guys, I am nervous about Apollo. This strike is nowhere close to ending, and if Bungie plans on using certain characters, we may not be able to hear what's going on again. I do wonder if a good chunk of people's complaints were due to the fact they assumed something was going to happen that never played out. All season, I saw people gaslighting themselves that we were going to be getting a Taken subclass. It was for sure, we're definitely getting a Taken subclass this time, even though we've never gotten a subclass in a season. I guess you could count the Light 3.0, but that wasn't like a new subclass. That was just remakes of old subclasses. And Taken will most likely never be a subclass. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. It doesn't fit into the rules of what makes a subclass within the rules of the Destiny universe. Subclasses are the high elements of the universe. Electromagnetism, combustion, etc. Solar isn't just fire, it's speeding up atoms till they explode. Stasis isn't ice. It's slowing down atoms till they become crystal. If you want to make a real educated guess on what the next darkness subclass is going to be, it's going to be something red. Every darkness subclass is the opposite color of its light counterpart. Stasis is the opposite of solar. Void is the opposite of strand. So what we are looking for is the opposite of arc. As you can see here on the color chart, solar is orange and the opposite is medium blue, stasis. Void is purple and the opposite is green. An arc is this light blue, and the opposite of that is red. I'm gonna be honest, Nightmare has a higher chance of being a subclass than Taken does. Plus, let's be honest guys, do you even really know what a Taken subclass would look like? All the Taken abilities are just like corrupted versions of what we have. Bubble Shield, Axion Bolts, Invis. And if you say you just want to turn people into slaves, that kind of just makes you a bad person. So yeah, you shouldn't want a Taken subclass. Another one that I saw going around was that people thought Oryx would stick around forever. I heard that people thought he would be an AI and navigate us around outside the solar system, which wasn't out of the scope of things that could possibly happen, but shouldn't be evidence of why this season was bad. Or people thought because they heard the word heresy that a bunch of old enemies would be coming back to life. Heresy was never just necromancy. I try to explain this a lot on my TikTok page. It's anything that goes against sword logic. It's okay to have theories and then be wrong. I've had plenty of theories that didn't pan out, but I've also had more that did. Either way, being right or wrong doesn't change how a season feels. There's times where I've been right about a theory and I didn't like how it played out. There's times where I was wrong about a theory and I loved that they didn't use what I thought and had a better story going on. Before we break down the story and what it contained, I do want to remind a lot of people that Bungie said this season was a prologue to Frontiers and the future of Destiny. There was always going to be things left unresolved. This was the opening act of the next saga as we leave the Light and Dark saga behind. On December 11th of last year, Bungie put out a developer insight article about the future of Destiny, and towards the bottom of the article, the developer says this: "In Heresy, we're winding the focus of the story to the Hive Pantheon and ancient Eldritch forces and shape the universe. The events of Heresy close the door on the Light and Dark saga and act as a prologue to Codename Apollo, where the Guardian's purpose in the next saga starts to take focus." Like I said, this season was always going to feel like there was unresolved story plot lines in order to shepherd us into the next year. The biggest one is the new Taken God. We have no idea who this is, and to be honest, only 3, maybe 5 characters even know this thing exists. Oryx mentions that something is keeping the Taken away from the Winnower, so it's safe to assume the Winnower, along with Oryx, knows about this existence. Sloane mentioned several times she's hearing a new voice in the Taken trying to consume her, so she knows about it. Savathun may know about it simply because, as we see in the final mission, it has started creeping into her throne world. We see tentacles as we make our way towards her son's head. And lastly, Eris may know about it. I am not sure on this one. If she did say something in game that I missed, please let me know. I just couldn't verify if Eris does or doesn't know. This new Taken God will most likely be explored more over the next year. We just got a good taste that something is happening, leaving us confused and intrigued. And this is a good thing. Destiny lost a lot of its mystery years ago. We may have some small mysteries here and there, but with the introduction of the Witness and Witch Queen, we no longer had any mystery about what the darkness was, or at least who was fighting us. All that was left were the veil and the statues we see in the pyramid ships. And with Final Shape, we even know how the Traveler communicates and more. I think the 2 leading theories over what is controlling the Taken are, it's a member of the 9 or the Great Quiet One. I myself lean more towards a member of the 9, specifically Mercury. I have a longer video on this topic from a few weeks ago if you'd like to see it fully fleshed out. I also do have a video on the Great Quiet One if you're unfamiliar with that from over the summer. So what did happen this season? There was so much going on. Let's break down each of the plot lines, because there was a lot. The easiest one to miss was Sloane. You could only hear about 10% of her voice lines this season, but her journey this season was very important and different from Season of the Deep. This season puts Sloane at war with herself, and we can see that in how she interacts with certain characters. Sloane was worried that she would be taken over by the new voice in her mind, that she would become fully taken, and then abandoned. While this is mostly in written lore, she is not happy with Drifter for disappearing after Eris's death. She even punched him in the face. Deserved, but she punched him in the face. I believe her anger is based on fear that one day the people who say they care about her will leave her, if and when she can no longer control herself. We also see her mistrust of Eris. Once again, this can be mostly seen in lore, but it does play out a little in game, constantly questioning Eris's ability and being hesitant to trust her. Once again, I believe this is based in fear of herself. Can she really trust herself? Eris is the closest to being like Sloane since she's partially Hive. Sloane doesn't trust herself, her own power, so she projects that onto Eris. Eris fully accepted the Hive parts of her and became the Hive god of vengeance. Sloane refuses to accept the Taken part of her in fear there will be nothing left of her. In lore, we see her ask the Drifter if he trusts Eris. He says he does. This changes a bit of her perspective, and she started trusting Eris as well. If someone who doesn't trust anything, or anyone, trusts Eris, maybe Sloane can be trusted as she is too. I know Sloane isn't really a popular character, and that Oryx's return was a huge selling point of this season. For me, this was one of the more interesting and one of the best character arcs we've seen in a while. When we defeated Oryx in the Taken King, we saw an Oryx that was different than the version in the Books of Sorrow. While intimidating, he arrived in the solar system because of his heartbreak over the loss of his son, a weakness to him. He even says this during our adventures through the Nether. This wasn't the great Taken King. This was the Taken King of sadness, weakened by emotions and a lack of tribute. The Echo of Navigation Oryx was pure, distilled Oryx at the cusp of his greatest achievement, killing Akka and claiming the power of Taken for himself. Oryx was a true believer in sword logic. Your only right to survive is proving you have the right to survive. Those that can be killed deserve death. But he also believed that if he died, he deserved it and should stay dead. He wasn't a hypocrite, which is why this Echo was so interesting, because he was already dead for something he hasn't done yet. This leaves the Echo with several choices, and some of them make him a liar and a hypocrite. If he listens to Savathun and leaves his campaign for sword logic, he becomes untrue to himself. If he listens to Xivu Wrath and returns to form, he becomes a liar, since he has already died. His other choices were give his Echo power to us, but this would also make him go against his logic, since it would be a gift, and power to him only comes from those that take. His final choice was oblivion, ceasing to exist. This would be the only choice that could make him honest. And that's exactly what happens in the end. Oryx accepts he can no longer keep on living. During the final battle, he says, "I have already failed. As my sisters have become heretics, so too have I. Long ago, Oryx was killed. If I am still Oryx, then I am already dead. And if I am not Oryx, then I do not live. Ayat, that is enough." That is Oryx accepting that to continue being Oryx, he must be dead. The world has changed. Savathun went to his enemy. Xivu became weak, his taken controlled by another. He was unable to reach the window or to commune. His only existence was a lie built by the witness. What was there left for him, really? Nothing. Among all of his faults, Oryx was at least strong in himself and his values. The Echo navigation could never continue to exist. And there was no one more upset at us than the two Hive sisters. And as much as they differ, they were mad at us for the same reason, not allowing them to have their brother back, even as just a memory. While Xivu was just angry, and I'll be honest, it was difficult at times to know what was going on with the lack of voice lines, it was more of the same we have seen from her since Ghost of the Deep dungeon. If you get the audio logs in the dungeon, you can hear her crying and longing for her dead brother. So nothing really new came from her this season outside of actually confronting us and throwing swords of unusual size at us. Savathun, on the other hand, is much more interesting, as she usually is. She went mask off there at the end. She really pulled the "you begged me for help and then couldn't do one simple thing I asked" card. That means a few things. 1, she's a liar. 2, she's an abusive manipulator. And 3, she was never really actually helping us. The first two should be pretty obvious. She is the Queen of Lies and is well known throughout lore and game for her cunning and trickery. What is relevant here is that she finally showed it. Not once did we beg her or really ask her for that much help. She always came to us, then made us play her little mind games and jump through a bunch of hoops to do something for her before she'd give us the information that we needed or that she thought we needed. Because sometimes we didn't even know that we needed things. It's not like she came to us out of the kindness in her brittle heart. She knew if the witness was able to enact the final shape, she would suffer. Now with the witness dead, she doesn't quote unquote need us anymore. In her mind, she could shape the universe and herself exactly how she wants. With the death of the Echo, this was the moment of weakness that Savathun has only showed us once. The only other time she showed any weakness was during her fight in Witch Queen. Our ghost says she's too strong and we can't beat her. Then we show her the worm in her past and that she was lied to, and it causes her to doubt herself, giving us the upper hand. The only reason why we beat her in Witch Queen was because of that worm and Ikora finding its memory. The weakness she shows at the end of this season is different. This is her unable to hold back the curtain. This is her true self, what she really means. No cunning, no lies, no manipulation. Just straight, raw, emotional truth. She doesn't need us, and she will make sure we suffer for saying no to her a single time. I'm sure you've known a girlfriend, boyfriend, parent. You've done so much for them when they ask, but if you say no one time, they throw it in your face. Finally, we learned more about the Taken, and this will most likely not go away for a long time, if ever. The Taken we have known for the past 10 years are done. No one is able to take like that anymore with Oryx and the Witness dead. The new god of the Taken is making new Taken in their image. An interesting thing about these new Taken is that Oryx's Taken can be retaken. Wow, how many times am I going to say taken? A new, more powerful will shoved upon them. Taken can constantly be reshaped, and whoever this new god is, they are more powerful than an Oryx, or at least the Echo of Navigation. We see that in the new Sunless Self-Strike. Oryx tries to call upon the Taken and is told no by the new Taken god. We also learn that Taken have a hidden culture. It's not much, but hey, at least they're not just husks. They have religion based on their desire to be controlled by something more powerful. We see them singing hymns in the lore books, Songs of Descent. I know we all would love to know who this new god of the Taken is, but I for one am enjoying this mystery. Like I said at the beginning of this video, this season was partially a prologue to what will be coming with Frontiers, and with that the continued storyline started in Heresy. Savathun is now a masked off enemy of us. This is a first. Yes, she did terrible things, but it was always in a way that she allowed us to keep on existing, or in her way of pushing us towards knowledge. She has never came at us through the ends of destroying her enemies. This makes her extremely dangerous. Not only does she have billions of years worth of manipulation work experience, she knows how we work. Amaro was with the Vanguard in the tower for a year and he was spying. We also had a year of Savathun in the form of Osiris gaining knowledge. This makes her one of the most dangerous enemies we have right now. While she may not have the power of the Witness, she can break us from the inside. The new Taken God and the dire Taken will continue being built up. Maybe this will roll into Apollo, maybe later. But if this is someone who can stand between the window and the Taken, their power and threat should not be underestimated. I think those are the two biggest plot threads that will be fleshed out next year. There's also the possibility of Eris's throne world becoming more relevant. Both Xivu and Savathun are going to try to break into it. Xivu will either try and claim it as her own or just take it away from Eris like Eris did to her. Savathun could use Eris's throne world as a backdoor into the last city. Sloane remarks how the Hive can use Eris's throne world for easier access to the last city in one of the new lore books. There's also the 3 dungeon threads that can continue, at least from Sundred Doctrine. There's even another one if you want to go with Vesper's Host, but I'm only talking about this season stuff. The first one is the Dread trying to make their own path and gain power for themselves without the need of a master. The other is Oryx's Chisel in Rolk's Vault. I am unsure of exactly where Bungie will take this, but it is there, and a good chance of popping up again. And with Savathun upset at us and Rolk's ship in her throne world, she may just get a hold of it and start making Taken of her own, or something different, writing new laws of physics and rules. And lastly, the Worms now seem to be kind of friendly with us. The final symbol sentence says they want to share the pyramid's knowledge. This could just be a reference to the Chisel, but we at least know that the Worms aren't seeing us necessarily as like their enemy. There's a few paths Bungie can take over the next year, even more if they want to dive into the Drifter and Eris's relationships now that they are dating. And yes, it is official, they kiss in lore, and premarital handholding. I know not every person is going to like everything, but overall, this was Destiny at its best. The writing and story were great, and while unfortunate we couldn't hear everything, still was a home run. The weapons are great, and players are showered with loot as long as they play, getting rid of the need for crafting. The activities are a lot of fun, and I'd love to see a full patrol zone like the Nether. Maybe not the whole like unable to heal part, but more roguelite and random events and stuff. And this season left a few things open to carry us into the next year of Destiny, and gave us our sense of mystery. I believe there will be some type of epilogue leading us from Heresy into Apollo, but even if not, the era of unknown and mystery is a welcomed one. Thank you all for watching this video, and if you enjoyed it, please comment, like, and subscribe, and remember, hunters never die.